Okay, so I've added some new features to the tutorial demo of Jam.py. I have some additional detail tables added now for each row of users. So we have a table of pets, including several columns, pet type, count, and notes, and several rows for each of those columns, an appointment table with appointment topic, appointment time, and appointment notes, and a status table, which has some sort of fictitious level completed, date completed, and some notes about that level for each user. So we can click on a user and add in their detail view um, a number of rows, any number of rows that we need. So if we want to give, for example, this user a pet, let's say that he has some birds, and he has three birds, and they are parrots. We can add a row there, and let's say that he has a cat also, just one of those. His name is Tiger. And so now when we go to that user, when we select him in the table, we can go to his pets list and see all of those values. And these detail tables can have any number of columns of data and any number of rows. Um, and they can be displayed along with the master table, or they can be limited to or be limited just to the um, uh, details pop-up, the details form. So let's add an appointment for this user. Let's say we're going to talk about cars on this date and time, and say we're going to talk maybe about muscle cars. So we add that, and we go to that user in the master table. We can see that detail pop up as an appointment item in their appointment details table. So the way this works is we can add details tables to the database. We'll create a new one here, and let's just say we're going to add a cars table, and we'll add a couple fields here. So we'll say and make that text, and we'll add another one that says model, also be text, and let's just say that we have also a count column here. I'll make that an integer, and we can edit whenever we make mistakes. Go back and adjust the tables. Very easy to adjust schema. Okay, so now we have a new details table, and we can add that to any other table in the application. In this case, we're going to add that details table to our persons table. So what we're going to do is select the details button here, and we're going to say we want to add that cars table to this journal schema. And when we look in the journal schema, there are two forms. The view form is the form for the grid. What we want to do here is select an additional detail table. We're going to select that cars table to be shown here. So we want to see it on the form, the grid, and then when we click on Edit Form, that's the layout for the detail pop-up that comes up that lets you edit details in a separate page. So we're going to now select all four of those details. If we refresh our application, you're now going to see, as long as I actually do select this properly, let's do this one more time, form. We only have three selected here, cars, click OK, and this time I am going to click the OK button to make sure it saves. And we'll refresh. And now, for each of these rows, we have now four separate tables of details. So we can click on each user. Let's go down to one of the ones we've already seen. For example, Jill has a number of tables already filled out with data, and we can add some more data to each of her details tables by clicking on the detail table here and add a new table row or edit the row or delete the row. So let's say she has a Ford. Um, I don't know of a Ford cars, but let's say she has one Ford Ranger. And let's say that she has a Porsche 911. She's doing well. She's got two of those. Okay, so now we have some more details, and you can see as we scroll through the table, when we click on other people, we're going to get their details. When we click on her, we're going to get her details for all of these different tables that are associated with her row. So that's a super useful way to build out the functionality in the database, add more to it. I also made a couple little changes here to the layout. Um, if we go to this person's form and look at the layout, you're going to see here in the form detail, I chose to put the buttons on top. If I change that, you're going to see here that when we rearrange this, the buttons are going to disappear up here, and they're going to appear down at the bottom of the form again, down at the bottom of the layout. So you have some more layout options that weren't displayed in the first tutorial, but I'm going to put those back on top. And you can see here we can set the detail height if we want to give more room. We can set the width. There are quite a few options here. And the other thing I've done is gone to the project and looked at the layout there and the interface there, and I've set this to full width because I want that grid to take up the entire page side to side. So originally that was not set up. We can also change the theme. Do a little bit here to make some of this display change. So you can see how that layout works. So now I've changed that. There you go. Different layout right away, different styles. We can add more styles, but for now, this is more than enough. We can go back to the interface here, change that back to Bootstrap, and set this back to full width. Save the changes. Now you can refresh the application and see those changes made. So you can see the full width taking up now the full page. Okay, so some more details about how to use the application builder in Jam.py. And then another thing I did here with this, you can see the application here exists at appstagehost.com at port 8083. What I've done is integrate that both visually and integrated the database into an application which was written with a framework called SQLpage. So SQLpage is a really simple framework that lets you use just SQL code to connect with databases and build user interfaces and REST APIs. And it also has a number of other useful features like authorization and customizable components built in. So what we've got here is a SQL page written with this SQL code. It's a very simple little bit of SQL. That entire application is this. This is the whole code. And that is available in the tutorial. If you go to SQLpage.com, this is one of the examples. Just a simple little CRUD app that lets you build a table. And the key thing here is that I've connected this application, a database that was written with the Jam.py application builder, with the code in the SQLpage app. And I've inserted the Jam.py app into the SQLpage app using just a couple lines of code here. We add a card to the SQLpage app, and on that card, we embed this application here that we were just working with in Jam.py as an iframe. So it appears within the user interface of the SQLpage app. And then the SQLpage app, it's kind of a silly example here, but it kind of shows you what you can do. This is SQLpage code that interacts with the same database. So we are, for example, inserting into this My Demo Persons table. We're inserting into the first name or inserting into the first name and last name columns. The first name and last name that are entered into the form. We're also allowing that application to update and delete from the columns of that same database. So to be clear, the application persons journal has a table name of My Demo Persons, and we have these database fields called, for example, first name, first underscore name, and last underscore name. So that was all created using Jam.py, and now we're using some SQLpage code to interact with it and create a user interface and also a full web page interface, which we can extend in any way we want to interact with that same database. So we could build this app out. I've got a little table here just showing you how the connection is made. And just to be clear, I'm going to add a new person. Let's call this person Filbert. And let's see, he was born in 2001, maybe on 19th of July. Let's give him a favorite food. Oh, looks like I made some changes here, so I need to refresh the page. Let's go ahead and do that. We made some changes to the editor, so we'll do this again. New. And let's check and see if we've actually done this yet. Not sure if that got saved, so let's check at the bottom. Doesn't look like it. It does look like I just added a name there, so let's change that back, and we will add Phil now. So Filbert, and doesn't really matter the date, but let's go ahead and change him to 2001, and say his favorite food is tacos. And we'll give him a photo right now, but we say he is a nice guy. And you can see we've got some tables here that are associated with him. Let's say he drives a Chevy. Try to scroll this down. So he drives a Chevy. Car guy, I think Chevy makes a Tahoe, and he's got one of those. And let's give him a couple pets. Let's say that he has a alligator. In fact, got two alligators and they bite. That should be enough to demonstrate. And let's say we want to make an appointment with him, and we want to add, let's see, an appointment time for us to talk about alligators. We want to do that February 19th at, let's say 1 o'clock. No, let's say 13 p.m. Okay. Talk about alligators biting people. Okay, so now we've got an appointment, and we can make another appointment, or we could add more pets, or add more cars, or give them a status. And have those details tables can be as complicated as we want them to be. Okay, so now we've got this added. He's added to the database. And just to be clear, I'm going to refresh this page as if we're opening it and go down here. And now you can see that the SQLpage application, which is dealing with that same database, has Phil Filbert added, and we can choose a sort order here in this application. We can edit. In fact, if we want to edit a name of a person, let's go ahead and do that. And SQLpage is a server-based application, or a server-based framework, so it refreshes the page. We could change Bill Billman to Bill Billmans, and then when we look in the database, as it's displayed by Jam.py, you see those bits of information are changed. And so these applications are not only integrated visually. The grids from both of those frameworks are on the same page because this one is appearing as an iframe. They are all connecting also to the same database. And to be clear, uh, this can be done with any sort of web development framework. So we could be using PHP and MySQL, or we could be using um, uh, Django, or we could be using Ruby on Rails, any sort of web framework. We could include one application either way. We could include a Ruby on Rails application inside the uh, Jam.py framework, or put the Jam.py framework inside SQLpage, or put a SQLpage app inside uh, the Jam.py application. And SQLpage is a really nice little addition to the toolkit here with Jam.py because it's really simple to learn. It's pure SQL. You don't need to learn another programming language. You can include code from any programming language and integrate code with any programming language very simply with it. And you can see here the code is very simple. You can find some tutorials about this at SQL or learnsqlpage.com. If you go to the intro, there's a simple set of examples. These are 11 little applications in 29 lines of code, and then you can get everything else you need to learn how to install and see some other examples. The example here was basically this little simple contacts example, and that's the code for it, which is sort of rearranged. This is just a little table, and that's a slightly more um, complex version of this little 8-line example here. And there's some videos up there explaining how all this works. And the bigger tutorial, if you want to do this, if you know anything about coding, the tutorial is this quick start. It's the best one to go to. Or you can just go to the absolute beginner tutorial right at learnsqlpage.com. But the quick start is about 80 pages long, and that shows you how to do basically everything you could ever imagine doing in most sorts of common development work, common software development work. It's very simple to learn and very lightweight and very, very fast and powerful compared to most other frameworks around. Together with Jam.py, it really is a phenomenally productive and powerful and really, really easy to use and fast set of tools. So hopefully that gives you some more ideas about how you can extend this and understand and have a little bit of a place to go to learn more about how to deal with what you're doing in Jam.py and other ways and build out entire websites and applications that have many more user interface possibilities and other application sort of building possibilities. And with that,